Okay, all righty. Well, good morning, Royal Page Primers. You can see here, I'm here with Andrew Fogliato, our special guest today, and we're going to get to him in just a second. He's going to have the floor for the majority of the meeting. Just want to quickly dive into, yes, I've been pumping these events for a long time, but guess what? Until they come, I'm going to be pumping them. So here they are. Let's just quickly get on to. All righty. So as you know, coming up, we have today is the Royal LePage conference, part 3 of the virtual conference. Enlarge this for you. There we go. And that is, again, it's Eastern time, so 12 to 1 today. Is a national speaker there, Bruce Kirkby, is going to be on. So again, you can mark your calendars for 12 to 1 today. Links were there. And of course, fall kickoff is coming up right away. So with Michael Vickers on October 6th at the St. Boniface Golf Course. So again, please, we need your RSVPs. We need your numbers in by tomorrow because the venue needs a week to prepare. We have to also book tee times, all that kind of stuff for those who are golfing. So please, you're going to get bugged if you don't RSVP. Okay, so I'm going to bug you. But so please RSVP. The links have been on the agendas. Check it out. It's also on the hub. You can check that out, RSVP to that. It's going to be fantastic. I spoke to Michael Vickers yesterday a little bit, just talking some notes, and I'm telling you, the session is going to be amazing. It's called Becoming Preferred 2.0, how to outlast, outsell, and outposition your competition. So it's going to be fantastic. This guy's legit, a fantastic speaker. This is how the guy makes his living. He's going around the world and blowing minds. So we're looking forward to having him. Again, thank you to our wonderful sponsors there at CIBC for the event. So again, make sure you register there on the hub or check the links that I've sent out in the agenda. Fall kickoff coming up. We have business planning workshop on October 19th, 2021. Expect more links and registrations to come out on the hub. Just mark your calendars for that one. Masters Academy with Richard Robbins live November 2 to 4. Make sure we check that out as well. And that's it for the upcoming events. So I'm going to turn it right over to Andrew here. And I think, Andrew, you've got complete control of the stream. So I'll let you have it.
I don't actually share my screen. I tried something else, which is doing it through the camera. I like this way better. I find it a little bit more engaging when you can actually see me instead of relegated to the corner there. So we're gonna go through presentation. We're going to talk about how to actually generate and convert leads today. As a general rule, feel free to interrupt with any questions you have. I will have the chat open and do my best, and even the Q&A as well. On the off chance I miss something and don't get it, feel free to reach out to me after and I will answer your questions. I'll obviously make sure to try and answer them all while we're going. So yeah, feel free to jump in with any questions you have as we go through it, and I'll make sure to do my best to answer anything you guys have. So for those though who might not actually know who I am, I'm Andrew Fogliato. So I was an agent for a couple of years just north of Toronto in the suburbs in a town called Newmarket. You guys might know it, you might not. It's about as dull of a typical suburban town as you get. It's just kind of what's there. I like it. It's good for a family. Otherwise, I'd rather live somewhere a little bit more fun. But I sold for a couple of years there, and then I got recruited by one of the big brands to train agents. So I ended up traveling North America training agents because I built my business online, and they had never had a trainer who had sold a house before. So they asked if I could do that. So I started doing that a little bit. Is there a way to bump up the pixel quality of the stream? Ooh,
yeah, your slides seem to be a little blurry. I'm not sure.
On my side, it's looking like HD.
The cameras, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. But
if there's a way on my end, like if I'm on my regular camera like this, is the quality better? Like, is it the switch between the cameras?
I can't say no. Did you just switch again? Something changed, but
let me see if I can see if I can.
Yeah, now it just got a little worse now.
Okay, let me see if I pull up the actual, instead of like going the traditional way, instead of going through that, if that can make it better.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you had a filter on or something because it looked. Yeah.
So it's like the way that I share the screen that way. Sometimes it can do that.
Yeah, just know yourself, like your own. Yeah, your own video quality isn't like you're not in HD. It's put that way.
If I do it this way, is that better?
Yep, that actually is.
Okay, so we'll go through it this way instead of hitting play. If that works for everyone else, I'm happy to do it this way too. Again, pretty easy going. All right, then we'll just do it this way. My tool.
Sorry, yeah.
All good. All right, so like I was saying, so I trained agents across North America how to generate business online. And then every time I did that, people just said, can you do it for me? Eventually I just started saying yes, because I found there was a business there. So everything we do either worked for me as an agent, or now, because I've been doing this for 6 years, works with our clients that are doing it. It's like everything, and it's across Canada. 90% of our clients are in Canada. So it's stuff that we know works here, and has been tested quite a bit. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Now, when we're talking about generate leads, I always hear this: leads are weak. I mean, people use generally more colorful language than weak, but generally you get the point of they come in and say that the leads suck. At the end of the day, whether you're getting them from one source or another, if you're paying to generate leads, the quality is going to be the same. It's the follow-up, and that's why I found it really important in this one, not just to talk about generating leads, but to add in the second half of the presentation how to actually convert, because that's the key. Like, anyone can generate a lead, it's converting that's tough. And that's where like the difference is really made. And at the end of the day, like, if you get people's contact information, it's about getting more. Like, if you want to increase the quality of a lead, you just make it harder for someone to become a lead, but that's decreasing the volume. And if you have the right follow-up systems in place, it's better to have the volume than kind of the lower amount. And it's just how you follow up can change. Like, I can make some changes to the ads that might make it, like, say you're averaging, the industry average is a 2% conversion rate. If I make tweaks on the ad, I might be able to get that to 2.5. But if you make changes on the follow-up, you can get it up to 5 or 6. If you want to get up to, like, if you hear people who say they have 20 or 30% conversion rate, it either means they're lying or they're doing a branding approach, which would be like, you're letting people reach out to you when they're ready. And it's going to take 6 to 12 months till you start getting things in. Like, when I sold, I had about a 20% conversion rate for a little while, but that was because I did blogging 3 to 5 times a week for 6 months before I got my first lead. Like, I put in that kind of time, whereas like now I would still have that, but I would also pay for leads for that 6-month period to still keep getting stuff in as well, with the long-term goal of eventually getting those higher quality being my main source, but it's going to take time to get there. So that's kind of some of the considerations you want to look at. I mean, the biggest thing here though is most leads just never get contacted. This is actually a study out of the States, but the numbers do hold true for here, is that 40% of online leads just never hear back from anyone. And it's a problem. Like, we've seen it with clients, they just often don't pick up the phone. Well, of course, you're not going to get conversions if you don't pick up the phone and call people. And so before you start generating leads, and I always refer to it as like a leaky bucket, like, you got to start plugging the holes so when these leads come in, you have the systems to help you actually convert them. So we've had clients that we've been generating lead for, that we've actually shut down their lead gen to work on their follow-up before we start putting more leads in, so they're going to waste. So I'm hoping the goal today is to show you how to generate them, but then also show you how to make sure you have these systems in place so that you aren't wasting your money when you've actually generated these leads. So first part, we're going to talk about how to generate them. There's 2 main ways. I'm going to use Facebook as a stand-in for all of social media, but really it's because Facebook's the cheapest source for leads right now. But generally speaking, Facebook and Google. And again, I'm using Google as a stand-in for all search engines, but let's be honest, it's 98% Google, 2% pre-installed on Bing for seniors. Otherwise, everyone's on Google. So Facebook, or like social media, people use different ones. But the main difference that we find here that people need to understand is Google's intent-based. So you will hear people say, well, Google's a higher quality, and they're right, because someone goes on Google and says like 4-bedroom home in Winnipeg. Whereas Facebook, I'm just looking at, who hooked up with who from high school and who's getting divorced and all that fun stuff, whose kids are doing what. Like, you're not going on there looking for real estate. Google, you're going and looking for real estate. Now, Google gets expensive because there's only a couple ad options and people are going to bid up. So like, you can sometimes see as high as like, I mean, I'm not sure what the exact prices in Winnipeg are for a click on Google for some of the high traffic ones, but like, as an example, in Toronto, there are some terms in Toronto that go as high as $15 or $20 per click. Like, it can get really expensive. Most areas like that are more normal, you're probably anywhere from like $1 to $5 a click for the high competitive terms, which is more normal. But they can get driven up really fast once you have a few big spenders in a market. So you can do the research pretty quick. If you just go on Google and type in keyword planner, it'll tell you what those kind of estimated costs would be. But
and so, Andrew, sorry to interrupt. So you're talking about like those are like the first, like the 3 those sponsored ads, kind of the top of the Google search. Okay.
Yeah. And that's like, you're basically saying like, and the easiest way to talk about those ads too is like, you don't need to be fancy with these ads. Like, we always joke is like, what's the easiest way to sell a horse? You just put up a sign that says horse for sale. You don't have to overcomplicate these ones. Someone wants a horse, they're going to buy the horse when they see the sign. They'll come check it out. Same with this. Someone searches 4-bedroom homes for sale. You can just put search 4-bedroom homes for sale here. Social media, Facebook, it's different because you have to interrupt what other people are doing, get their attention and want them to click through. So you have to be a little bit more creative, which is what makes the ads a little bit harder to execute than Google. But when executed well, can get you a much cheaper cost per lead. Like where you might be paying $1 to $3 a click on Google, I can generally pay $1 to $3 for a lead on Facebook. So it can be a lot cheaper. So the volume you're getting there can make up for the lower quality from Google. And what some clients will do is, especially if they have the budget, is they'll actually run both. So we'll run Google ads, drive people to the site, but then also use the social media ads to retarget those people to help convert them as well. So there should, in an ideal world, if you have the budget, be working together. And that's including what you're doing offline, which we can talk a little bit about. This is just a screenshot of our ad account. So you can kind of see, like on the far right side, those are the costs per lead. And that means name, email, and phone number of someone who was curious about the property. Curious doesn't mean interested. A lead doesn't mean it's like a sign call. This is just the lead of someone who might be interested. They're not quite a prospect yet. So these are like the industry average being about a 2% conversion rate on these, but you can see like, we got an 88 cents lead there. You can see there's one there at 647. If I remember correctly, that client just wanted to add in extra information they had to submit, but once in a while you will get a listing that gets you a higher cost per lead. And the reason I say listing is like, if you want volume of leads, the easiest way to do it, advertise listings. That's what people want. Like at the end of the day, they don't really care about everyone as agents. They care about where they're going to live next. Yes, an agent's important, but they care about where they're living next or selling their current home. And even sellers, they want to more know about where they're going to next. So listings are the best way. If you don't have a listing to advertise, the second best way is to advertise a type of listing. So like you can say like, get a list of 4-bedroom detached in Winnipeg, or get a list of investment properties. Like basically those are the two simplest ways to get leads, either a specific listing or a type of listing that they can search. We have geared away in the last 18 months from saying based on price. So we used to do things like say, get a list of, detached homes in Newmarket under 800,000. That used to work really well because you get people interested. With the way prices have gone, I would now have to do like get a list of detached homes under $1 million, and there might only be 2. And what happens then is you just get a lot of angry commenters. So when we use price nowadays, because they've shot up so much, the negative comments and stuff is just not worth it. So now instead of price, we go by type of home, but that still works really, really well.
Yeah.
And no, go ahead.
I'm really glad you shared that because that was going to be one of my questions of, what are these ads that are running? And you said it's all listings. And I had, correct me if I'm wrong or if you agree with this. I had one realtor tell me, they do post, they have a regular budget for their, their own branding ads, use this so-and-so realtor. And he says, it's kind of like it's just an online bus bench. It's there for awareness, not a lot of click throughs, but instead of spending $200 a month on a bench, he puts it up on Facebook kind of thing, but doesn't expect.
There is value there.
Yeah.
Like there is value in the branding, but like if you're just putting up an ad, it's like whether you're buy, selling, or investing, call me. That's not getting you business.
Yeah.
That like it's similar, and that I wouldn't even do it to everyone necessarily. Like you can also set it up to like just send that ad to your database. Like there was a woman in my old office when I used to sell, and she did about 700,000 GCI a year and 97% referral. She spent $500 a year marketing, and that was on one newspaper ad. And when I asked her why she did it, she's like, I just want them to know I haven't died yet. She was a little older and been in the industry 30 plus years. But that was her entire reason for the 500. And what we showed her is like, if you're just trying to get your clients, like you can just upload your database to Facebook. It'll match their emails and phone numbers to accounts on Facebook. And for $100, you can have it just show your clients you haven't died yet for a lot cheaper and more specifically just to them. So there are some other ways you can get creative and more efficient online. These are some examples, like with a list. This is one listing, 3 versions of it. And what I always tell is like, if you're advertising listings and your goal is just, I want as many leads as possible, you don't need to get fancy with it. And I can give you the link to the template after, if you guys want it. Like we give this template out of how we structure these to everybody. Well, you guys are a real page. You actually, if you go to the email, from Royal LePage Canada that came out last Tuesday from us, it has the template already baked in there. So you could already actually have it.
Yeah.
It would have come out last week if you didn't get it. So we just open with a question, just like a generic, in this one, looking for a beautiful 3+3 bedroom family home in West Lincoln. Someone says yes, they click see more. Then we just go into about 3 or 4 points about the home, and then a call to action, click learn more to learn more about this property. We don't put a lot in there. We treat it like a movie trailer. We don't want to give away everything about the home. We want to give enough to get them interested to sell the click through to get the lead. That's how you want to think about it. Like, the movies are like one of the best way to think about advertising your properties, in the sense of you could have your teasers, then your trailer, and then the full movie, and they have to get a ticket to see the full movie. The full ticket in this case being their name, email, and phone number. If you like, the easiest way to get leads is just take the price out. But some people hate dealing with those types of leads. They just get, oh, I just wanted to know the price, or why didn't you just tell me the price? I hate when people do this. Finding the right like amount of information to keep in versus keep out. There's no right or wrong there. It's like what fits better with like the customer experience you want to give people, the amount of leads you want to get. So my recommendation is test different versions and see which one you like better. Like, we have clients where we actually put everything in the ad, and then people reach out, and we just still have like, if there's any other questions, reach out. You're going to get a higher cost per lead doing that, but sometimes they prefer it. The other question we often get is like, these are very much just images in the ad. So a single image is the best way to get low cost leads versus like multiple images or a video. A video, so like with a single image on a listing, we'll get $1 to $3 a lead. With a video, we're $4 to $8 a lead. Video is great for branding and impressing sellers, but from a purely lead gen perspective, a single image will almost always outperform a video. Like 9 out of 10 ads we run, the single image will outperform the video almost every single time. So that's one, if you do want, your goal is lead gen, go there. Video has a place, but for just straight lead gen perspective, a single image will outperform. We also get this question a lot about forced registration. Do you find the button works best, and which button has Facebook has many to choose from? So generally speaking, the learn more button is best. And these are actually what's called a Facebook lead ad. So if you're familiar with, so generally speaking, most websites suck at converting leads. Like, this is proven. Everyone does. Like, most people get their websites designed by like a graphic designer who's not a marketer, and they can make something pretty, but they don't know how to get people to opt in. So what Facebook realizes, well, we need a way to fix that. And so Facebook, if you click learn more, it actually keeps you on Facebook, pops up a form on Facebook, and they can actually it pre-fills the contact information with the information from their Facebook account. So it'll pull the name, email, and phone number off their account and fill out the form. They just hit submit. And that's the easiest way to do it. Now, in terms of which button, learn more for us has always been the highest converting one. Anytime we add one of the other ones, the conversion rate goes down. And I think it's just because the learn more is less commitment. And even though it's like this, like, you could say you had like a PDF that someone was downloading, like a guide on how to prepare your home for sale. If you put download, like, especially if you're dealing with like an older population, not to stereotype too much, but they're worried that if they hit download, it'll like download something malicious onto their computer, and they're less likely to do it. Whereas like learn more and download actually have the same thing that'll happen. So learn more for us has been the best performing one. But similar, like sometimes if you put, say, subscribe or sign up, you'll get less people, but they're a little bit higher quality people because they are taking that more committed action. So then it's kind of back to like, quantity versus quality. I generally tend to lean towards quantity, and then using the follow-up system to find the quality leads out of that, because you can still convert the lower quality ones later on in the process. On a forced registration standpoint, this is on your website. Like, they can either look at a listing or they can't look at anything without signing up. I generally tend to say on this, there's no right or wrong here either. It's more, do you want to be more open and give people like the experience they want? Like, consumers, they don't want to force register on your website. Like, no consumer's like, yeah, I can't wait to give you my information to look at a listing when I could just go look at it on realtor.ca. And then especially because I think you guys there have slightly different rules, like what you can even put on your website than a lot of the other parts of Canada.
Yeah, well, one of the biggest limitation for us and what Manitoba anyways is that we can't have competitors listings on our site. So we can have our office listings on our site, and that's about it. So we don't have what's called reciprocity. So we're limited. I mean, now we have market share, which is nice, but it's but yeah. So we can only have our offices come in.
So then I wouldn't even do forced registration with if I were you guys personally. I mean, if you can get enough people to your website for that, but to be honest, if you have a good online strategy, this method where you don't share is actually better for you if you do it, because it's actually just a really easy way to game the system. If you don't have listings or anything like that, is just to use everyone else's to get leads. This, if you are willing to put the work in, is actually better for your guys' business if you're willing to put the work in. So the other way to generate leads outside of a listing is to give them little pieces of value. So this is an example of one. So when I first started, we did a survey. So I got a client, like I asked agents, I'm like, what do sellers care about? And we kept asking that. Every agent would tell us the same thing. They want to know what their home would sell for. They want to get the most money for their home. Then we actually got one of our clients to send a survey out to all their past clients. And it was like, what stresses you out? What causes you the most problems during it? And all this. And every single thing, it was like 70% of the answers didn't talk about price. It talked about getting their home ready for sale. And they specifically were saying, I don't know how to prep my home for sale. I want to prep it so it gets more money. But everything was around this idea of preparing their home. So we switched and created a guide on how to prepare your home for sale. And literally all it is like a 3-page checklist. And people can just like print it out and go through their home, check off things as they get done, and then they could get their home ready for sale on their own. It's not a long, like any type of like lead magnet you're using that adds value, you don't have to get overly fancy with it. Like there's this kind of this trend, what people do where they'll say like, okay, I'm going to have an 80-page ebook on how to sell your home. People aren't going to read that. Like if I said, hey, I'm going to send you guys all an 80-page ebook on how to run Facebook ads, I might get one of you to read halfway through and everyone else will like look at the cover page, skim through, or not do anything with it. Like no one's reading an 80-page ebook. But if I said, hey, I'm going to send you a 1-page PDF, and if you do the exact action in it, you're going to get a deal by the end of the month, you're all going to read that. So what you want to focus on is what is something that they can go do today. And if we look at the home buying or home selling journey as A to Z, all we're trying to get them to do is A to B from our lead magnet. So this is a great one because it's like, go print this out and you can start getting your home ready for sale. One that you can all literally do today if you want to create your first lead magnet is just, and you can do it in Google Docs or Microsoft Word, wherever you want, or just pen and paper. Think of 3 things a homeowner could go home today and start doing that if they did 3 things, their home would sell for more money, whether that's $500, $1,000, or $10,000. What's something to do today? So like paint all the baseboards white, like just go back and repaint them all. Clean up a little bit of the landscape in front of your house and declutter. Like those are 3 very simple things someone could do. So if you could, I bet you can all sit down and think of 3 things. Well, write those 3 things down into a Google Doc, turn that into a PDF, and then offer that PDF in exchange for someone's contact information. You don't have to overcome it. It just has to have value in it. And it's just very short and simple. You can also do something like a what's my home worth campaign. My recommendation, if you're going to do a what is my home worth, pivot the language and say, what would my home sell for? Because what's my home worth attracts just everybody who's curious, who's not necessarily like ever intending to sell. But if you say, what would your home sell for? You're more likely to get people who are thinking at least of selling. They might still be a couple of years away, but they're more likely to be thinking about selling, just someone who's curious what their home is worth. So that's the first thing. Now, the next piece I'm talking about is literally the biggest mistake everybody makes with online marketing. I call it the double dip offer just because I'm a Seinfeld fan. And I wanted to give a name to it. Basically, the idea here is someone opts in to say like, how to prepare your home for sale. They go to the thank you page. 99% of the time, that means they're landing on the page that says, thanks, we'll be in touch. Or they hit submit on that download page, and then it just keeps them on the page. This is the start of your relationship with somebody. This is like just saying thanks, we'll be in touch is like the equivalent of in a bar going up to someone and being like, hey, I'm Andrew. What's your name? And they're like, hey, I'm Sarah. And then you'd be like, great, thanks, I'll be in touch. And then walking away, right? Like maybe ask to buy them a drink, maybe get to know them a little bit. And this is what we do here. Like you have to kind of go on and add some steps to it. So if someone downloads a how to prepare their home for sale guide, you already know they're thinking about selling and they're probably a homeowner. So next sentence, you say, great. If you want to find out what your home would sell for while you're waiting for the guide to end up in your inbox, click below and I will give you a report on what your home would sell for if you were to list it today. Then they opt into that. You can send them a page and be like, great, do you know where you're moving to next? Click here to search our actively available listings or fill out the form, and I will send you some listings that might fit your criteria. You can keep offering them more as they opt in. I see, how do you overcome comments from people saying things like, I don't want to input my information after they click on the ad link. They mentioned too many pop-ups to input info. So this is where generally, if you get a lot of complaints about this, what you're offering to them isn't valuable enough to give up their information for. So this is where something like a home prep guide works really well, is because you're framing it as like, this is a PDF you would print out. I have to send it to your inbox. Right. Whereas like, yeah, like if you're just withholding the price for them to opt into something that you get, well, comments like that, they're inevitable. You just have to just deal with it and keep going and learn to deal with that objection, which we can talk a little bit when we get into the converting phase. But generally, most of the time when we see the, I don't want to input my information to get it, it just usually means your offer hasn't quite tipped that scale. Because if you think of like, I want to guard my information, but I want this information, you got to tip the scales in favor of, I want this information more than I want to guard my contact info. And that's really all it is finding what that is. So you just got to kind of increase what you're willing to give them for that sometimes. But just saying like, just to find out the price, put in your information, you'll get a lot of people who don't like that. But always think about what can you offer after they opt in, and that will also help. The other thing that we do sometimes, instead of a double dip offer, so instead of just saying like, hey, you got the home prep guide, now we're going to offer you a free home evaluation. The other version is called the Godfather offer, which is literally just, I'm going to make them an offer they can't refuse if they're thinking of selling their home. So if someone was like, hey, I'm thinking of selling in the next 2 months, what's something you could offer them that if they are serious about selling, they definitely would take you up on it. So like, and we've kept this pretty simple with some clients where it's like the thank you page will just say like, great, are you thinking of selling your home in the next few months? If you book a call with our team about selling your home, we're going to give you HD photo, HD video, staging. We'll send cleaners to your home. Like basically list out everything you would already do for a seller in like a bullet point format. Like you put it all out there and be like, all to get all of this at no extra cost on top of our regular fee, we will just book a call with us and we'll give it all to you. So it's, and most of the time, just putting in everything you already do for sellers is often enough to get them. It's because it's all written out, and most agents don't write out everything they give people. The next thing with ads is don't feel like you have to do like short ads. A lot of people think like, oh, people have a short attention span. That's BS. Yeah, people have a short attention span. What they actually have though is a short consideration span. Right? Like you're going to look at something really quickly and decide if you want to do it or not. But like people will binge Netflix for 10 hours a day and not leave the couch. Like people will sit there and go through something if they think it's valuable. What's really shortened is like how much time they give you to decide that. So like this as an example of one that is a seller focused ad that we were getting $12 for like a quality seller lead. And the reason it's so long is we literally just thought of like, what's every single objection someone might had to this offer? And this one was, like, we have a buyer for your home already. And would you sell if, off market? And we're like, well, what's some of the objections someone would have to selling without listing their home? Let's answer them right in the ad and deal with it. And we got some pretty good ones. Would you typically put the price of the home on the ad or tell them to contact you for more? Most of the clients we work with, and if I went back to sales, I would put the price in the ad personally, especially the higher end the property gets. Like if it's a luxury listing, I will always put the price in the ad, because you just get a ton of people, just like low quality, just people who's like, I want to see the luxury home. They don't actually care otherwise, right? Like they'll see a $10 million home and be like, well, there's no price. Maybe they're getting divorced and I can get it for like 500 grand. They think like people have these unrealistic fantasies about a $10 million home selling for $500,000. So like cases like that, I'll always put the price in. Lower end of the market, I still normally put the price in, but if it's the lower end of the market, you can get away with it. But test it for yourself. Try one with, one without, and see which one you like dealing with better. Most of the time, though, I will put it right into the ad. Other options, like this is a client of ours who works on investing into pre-construction condos. He has a very specific offer, and it's a sequence. So like the first one is join my class to see how he personally turned his $39,000 down payment into $1 million real estate portfolio. And basically you watch this class and he teaches you exactly how he built up his $1 million real estate portfolio. If you watch that, and then you start seeing the second ad, which is, do you want to get me to review your real estate investment portfolio for free? And I will tell you if there's ways that you could be doing it better. But you only see the second ad. If you see the first one, it gets like this. So I believe was getting about $40 to $50 a lead, but these were higher quality leads coming through because they had to first watch a masterclass on how to do it before they would actually see this ad. And it was going to those types of ideal clients that he had. So there's sometimes it's worth it to kind of go for that really, really specific one. And it works out very well. On the organic side of your social, if you want leads, Instagram stories is the best way to do it. Everyone I know that gets business from social consistently and a lot is mostly done through stories. There's a couple different reasons for this. To me, the main reason is private conversations come out of stories. A lot of people don't like commenting on things publicly because it puts them out there for everyone to see. A story reply is private to you and the person who posted the story. So it's a very easy way for people to engage. Now, like, for example, what I've done here on these screenshots, because these will be like a 3-story sequence, you can leverage the built-in Instagram features to get better results. So like this is, hey, here's a new listing, a little bit of info. Do you want more info on this home? Drop your email here and you will get emailed the PDF. That's a question box. People can just put their email in the question box and then you can take that and start contacting them that way. But you can be creative in other ways. Like you can put like, there's a poll box where they can pick like this or this. Do like, are you planning to move in the next 12 months? Yes or no? Everyone who clicks yes, send them a private message and start talking with them. But it's an engaging way to start conversations with people. And Instagram stories are a really powerful way to do that. So that's generating leads. Again, it's super simple once you start getting into it. Follow kind of the template of just give them enough information. You will get leads no matter what platform it is. Some are more expensive than others. Converting leads, like I mentioned, is where you have to really look into it. And we see this all the time. People are like, I see this challenge like, oh my God, I have no idea how to generate leads. It's like such a mountain to get over. Until you actually get to the top of that mountain and realize that is just like a foothill. And you really have to like climb the next one. Like, you've ever seen those scenes in movies where someone like finally gets to the top and they're like, oh my God, that next section is so much bigger. That's converting leads. I see any tips for Facebook ads with required housing special category? Targeting is very difficult. Yeah, just don't worry about it. Turn on the housing category and run the ads. Our results haven't been that much different. Like we were $1 to $3 a lead before that came in. We were $1 to $3 after. You might get slightly more unqualified leads from time to time, but it's not been a major difference for the clients who do everything well, to be honest. So don't worry too much about the special category. I mean, there are some ways around it. I don't really have time today to go. If we have time at the end, maybe I can talk a little bit about not necessarily like going around it and like screwing the system type of thing, but just like some ways you can get creative with your targeting that renders it less important. So if you have an effective follow-up plan, it kind of closes that gap for you from like conversion to there. And personally, I wouldn't start doing a lot of lead gen until you could see that path. Like, what are you going to do? And that's what I want to kind of show you now is how to actually do it. And so I kind of, to simplify my lead conversion process as much as possible, it's just create as many conversations as you can about real estate. So when you think of what you're doing, filter all this follow-up is, will this create a conversation about it? I'll go into a little bit more specifics now about like what I actually mean by that. But if you want to just remember, like, is what I'm doing in this follow-up process going to start a conversation with someone? Because I see what a lot of people do is like that first email out, for example, and a new lead comes in, they're like, great, I'm going to get you some more information about this. By the way, to see this property, you're going to have to sign a buyer representation agreement. And they'll go on for like 500 words about like, hey, let's go book a property to see this, but sign this BRA first. Like, that's not starting a conversation. That's being like, just putting way too many roadblocks. It's like asking someone to marry you when you just met them in the bar that minute. Like, you're going too far into it. You just want to start a conversation at this point. So when you first get a lead in, the initial follow-up, don't overcomplicate it. You just want to keep it short and sweet and just say, send them a message that would get them to likely respond with another one. So as an example, if someone reaches out about a listing of yours, instead of going like huge into detail about it, be like, great, we just, I saw you're inquiring about 123 Main Street, the most sold property in the world. If you're, are you looking at this for yourself or as an investment? And the imply in there is like, one, there's a question to answer. I'm looking at it for myself, or I was looking at an investment. But then it's like the information I send you, depending on how you answer, could be different and of value to you. And people feel like they'll want to reply to that. So instead of like, the worst thing you can say is like, great, here's the info you wanted. Let me know if you have any questions. That's like when you walk into a store and say like, how many times if someone comes up to you and says, hey, can I help you today? 99% of people, even if they need help, will say, no, thanks, I'm just looking. And they've shown like 40% increase in store sales if instead of saying that, you say, what brought you in here today? Because people will then answer and be like, oh, I'm looking for this for my son. Great, come with me and I'll show you where that is. You want to take that similar approach. You never leave it in their hands to reach out when they're ready. You always ask a question that expects an answer. And it's just very short and sweet. It's like, are you interested in this for yourself or as an investment? Or are you looking in this neighborhood because of the price point or because you want to be in this school district? Right? Like you're asking very specific questions that expect a reply, and you never ask more than one question at a time. My preferred sequence personally is phone call, text message, email. And ideally, you can automate a lot of this. I mean, obviously you can't automate it. I mean, you can actually automate a phone call. I don't recommend it though. Phone them. They don't pick up. Do not leave a voicemail. Text them. Say like, hey, this is Andrew with, Royal LePage. I saw you were looking at 123 Main Street. Are you looking at it for yourself or as an investment? And then you wait for them to answer. Then you start the conversation. I would rather you go back and forth with them this way 7, 8, 9 times before you jump on the phone, just by getting responses to them and getting them. Because like the more time they spend answering you, the more they feel invested into the process and like they have to keep going. Whereas if you're just like bombarding them with these messages and a bunch of questions, they get overwhelmed and they're going to more likely to shut down. And if someone gives you the wrong phone number but the right email, don't push for that phone call right away. Them giving you the wrong phone number but the right email is just them telling you how they want to be contacted. It has nothing to do with you and like wanting to lie to you. It's just like, I only want to deal with you over email, so just deal with me that way. Kind of let them dictate when you move off that medium to a degree. If you find like they're responding to you every 30 seconds when you send them a message, send one, be like, this might be quicker if we jump on a quick phone call, or we can just keep it going over text. Let me know what you'd prefer type of idea. Like, would you rather me call you and do this in 30 seconds, or we can go back and forth over text? Because someone might be at work and they can't pick up the phone, so they'd rather go over text. Like, don't think about it as like they're doing this, to get at you or trick you or whatever that thing is. Like, it's more about like what their situation is. They might not be able to pick up the phone right now, but they're happy to text while they're at work. Other things we do when we're helping to convert leads is we do aggressive short-term retargeting. So like if someone becomes a lead for like the 3 days after they become a lead, we might hit them really hard with ads about how you can get their home sold. And be like, click here to do it. So we go really, really hard. How would you go about answering a phone call if someone's saying they're interested in purchasing a home? Best step by step. I'm glad to hear your point of view. It depends on exactly like what they're saying. If they're saying they want to purchase a home, be like, great, what type of home are you looking for? And then you just go into your like, find out everything about them. Like basically just be curious about their situation and keep them talking until you can get every little piece of information. And then after you finally like learn everything about what they're looking for, what's important to them, be like, great, I have a couple of possibilities for you. I'll flip those to you over email. And then why don't we set up a call for either later today or tomorrow, and we'll go over those, and then we can look at like when's a good time to start going to see them. But just do your regular pre-qualifying of just, they say they want to buy a property, be like, great. Obviously you got to find out if they have an agent or not. I normally wait a couple questions in before I find that. And then I don't phrase it as, are you working with an agent? I would phrase that if you signed any contracts with another agent, because some people will just be like getting emails from like a random agent they met at an open house, and they're not actually working with them. They just like, well, I get emails. I'm not committed to anyone. I barely even know their name. But so I always ask, are you signed with another agent? I would just normally ask that on the second or third question, because if you ask that right away, it turns people off. So we want to, generally I ask that because you still have to ask it fairly quickly to like appease the regulators. So I normally save that for like the third question. And then go from there. But when you're doing your follow-up, this is what you're trying to figure out. And it's called the 5-star prospect. This is a thing from Dean Jackson. If you don't know Dean Jackson, he's one of the best marketers out there in the world. He actually got to start in real estate. And now he's like a 20,000 a day consultant, like brilliant, brilliant guy. But he says, when you're looking for prospects, this is your goal. First, your best prospects, they're willing to engage with you. So they're actually having that conversation. They're friendly and cooperative and not telling you where to stick it. They know what they want. They know when they want it, and they want your help to do it. If you can check off all five, those are going to be the best people that you're going to have. And your goal during these conversations is to find people who match all five of these. You can still convert people who like tell you where to go. Like one of my favorite stories, it was an agent we worked with in Toronto. He got a lead in at like 9 o'clock on a Friday night. And it came in at like 9 o'clock, and he submitted to our group chat just being like, so this lead just came in at 9 o'clock. Should I like call him now? Like it's 9 o'clock on a Friday, so I don't necessarily want to, but he also just opted in. And everyone's like, call him, like whatever. He just opted in. He's probably by his phone. Just do it. So he picks the phone, called him. 3 minutes later, he comes back to the group chat. I hate all of you guys. He told me to F off. And the next morning, he's like, update, I got a listing appointment today. Because after the guy told him to F off, he texted him and be like, sorry, I called you so late on a Friday. You had just opted in. So I figured you were at your phone. It'd be okay because you just opted in. My apologies. But I'm here if you do have any questions. Otherwise, I'll leave you alone. Their response, actually, this is on me. I'm sorry. I'm actually going through a divorce right now, and I'm just in a bad place, and I just took it out on you. We actually do need to sell our house, and we're actually both going to be buying a home. Would you mind coming by tomorrow and letting us know what we could get for our house? They ended up pulling 3 deals out of it after the guy told them where to stick it. So like, keep going, be human about it, but it can work really well.
Yeah, Andrew, if I can interrupt for a sec, I'm not sure any of you get there, just tell me to wait. But on that note, like the speed to lead, like how quickly do you see? I've heard statistics that if you, in the first, 1 minute versus 5 minutes, and if you wait till minute number 8, that the lead's gone, or how fast do you need to be with responding to these things?
If it's just a traditional lead gen where it's like, hey, get information about this listing, you got to be quick. Like we're talking the best people are 30 seconds. The more like brand focused your marketing is and like building trust with people, like you can delay that because they want to work with you specifically. But for straight lead gen that you're paying for leads, you got to be fast. That doesn't mean you have to call them all. Like, yes, calling helps, but like set up an auto, like RLP Sphere, like have it text them or email them right away. Right? Like those initial ones can still help the process, but you have to have something that goes out really quick. And the reason for that is like, let's take Google for an example. And I'm doing a Google search. I might like look at the thing and I might open 4 tabs of the different results so that I can go through them all and see which one is the best for me. But say 3 of them, I might put my information in all 3. So it's not that like you're getting this lead and it's just for you. 3 other agents might be getting that lead too. And it's something like 70% of people just go with the first agent that they talk to. And so you got to be there pretty quick. And that's one of the reasons I also like Facebook ads sometimes a little bit better than Google is Facebook. You're not like competing as directly with the other results there because they're all going to be like your competitors, where like your competitor on Facebook might be Amazon t-shirts or something like that for the ads there. So you can, sometimes you have a little bit more leeway, but like if you can get it down to like 30 seconds or less, that's the best. But that's where texting automated and things like that will help you a lot.
Yeah, and I'll just share like a quick little anecdote to parlay on that, kind of like the story you told. I remember one time I had an online lead came in. It was like 10:30 at night on a weekend. I was walking the dog. I was dog sitting. Said, screw it, called the guy, and his name is John Bola. And anyway, sold, he said, wow, you were on it, went with him. Like, again, it was a divorce case. I think I ended up doing like 6-7 ends with the guy and his family over the next like 3 years. So that's how powerful, just,
and if you're
just responding,
all that late, send them a text. Like, I think people grossly underestimate the value of a text message. But again, you keep them short, you keep them, so don't try those like cheap things where it's like, hey, is this John? But then you offer no context. Because then people are like, yeah, who's this? Be like, great, this is Michael from Royal LePage. Like people now just feel like a bait and switch happened. Whereas if you're just like, hey, this is Andrew from Royal LePage, saw you were asking about 123 Main Street. Are you looking at it for yourself or an investment? Or if you're like, it's the home prep guide and you're like, hey, this is Andrew from Royal LePage. I just emailed you a copy of the home prep guide. Sometimes it ends up in spam. Did you receive it? Right? Like you don't have to overcomplicate these messages, just very simple, and always make them conversational. I never recommend making them like a university level essay type of language. Like you just want to be very conversational. Like I always say, like, is this how you would say whatever you're about to say to someone if you're sitting across from them at the bar? Then if you wouldn't say it that way, then don't say it in the message. Like keep it very conversational. Like how would you text your best friend? How would you text your mom? How would you text your wife or husband? Like that's how you should be responding in these cases as well. Um, and what we always recommend too with like lead conversions, like keep building your list of people. And so that you're using and marketing to this list. So like, as an example, like when I get a new listing, or like not me anymore, but like my clients will get a new listing, we can email it out to the list and we can help them convert that way. So I'll get a little bit into the email strategy, but like one way to build lists, like if he's Royal LePage, if you guys know Chuck Charlton, Chuck and Melissa Charlton, they're out in Ontario. For example, one of the things we do with them is he has two versions actually, but one is he sends an email every day of the week. And he also has one that just goes out once a week. And people like, that's a lot, but people actually want it. We run ads just to sign up for a daily email. And we get lots, like he has over 10,000 people on his list now. And what it is just every day he'll log in MLS, be like, what's new on the market? Which ones are good deals? He'll offer his thoughts on which new listings are a good deal, and he'll send it out to his list. And if he thinks something's a bad deal, he will say, this one's a bad deal, and here's why. If he thinks it's a good deal, it's like, here's a good deal, and here's why. And he sends it out to his list. People sign up to get that unfiltered truth from him. And what this is great about is it's just constantly building these lists. And he'll get people who are on that list for 7 or 8 years who he's never talked to, who will respond to one of his emails being like, hey, Chuck, long time. Looking to get my home sold. Can you come over this week? And he's like, I've never even seen this person's name before. And they like, because they see him in his inbox every day and talking to them conversationally, they feel like they know them. But he's never seen them before, but they've been following for like 7 or 8 years and reading it. Because people love real estate and talking about it. They just don't want to be hounded by agents. So sometimes having like a regular email that goes out that they can sign up for is a great, easy way to keep in touch with people without annoying them. And this is where my recommendation actually is to send weekly emails to your list. So I'd be like, that's too much. To be honest, monthly is way too little. And if you're less than that, then it's way too little. Because like, think about like, especially with leads. If I opt in to like find out information about one property today, if you don't reach out to me for a week, I've probably forgotten I even sent you my information. Because I might have already inquired on another 10 listings and probably that one again was someone else who answered me. And same with like, if I opt into something and then you add me to your mailing list and it's like 3 weeks later, I get an email. I'm like, who is this person telling me about how to winterize my home? Like, you're not going to convert them that way. It's like a weekly email in an ideal world is here's what's sold that's of note. And here's what's newly listed for sale. And here's why you like what you want to know about them. You always want to add in your insight into it. You should never just send one and be like, here's the information. It's like if the board, your real estate board puts out stats, don't just share the numbers. People don't often care or even really know what those numbers mean. Put it in terms of like, hey, if they're like the market's up 17%, be like, our board just put out that the market's up 70%. If you own the average home in Winnipeg, that means you're now $40,000 more equity in your home. And so if you want to find out like what your home is actually up, let me know and I can help you. But it's like, put it into very specific terms for them and start building trust. Nothing builds trust more than telling someone not to buy something that like look like it's a good deal. Like one that I love that Chuck's done is he'll be like, this home that you see, I wouldn't actually personally want to buy it at this price because it's backing onto a ravine and they're pricing it like it's backed onto a ravine. But the golf course right behind it, it's actually just bought by a developer. And within the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to have an entire neighborhood right behind you instead of what it is right now. And he'll say, it's like, if you're okay with that, then this can actually be a decent deal if you can get it for the right price, but they're pricing it like there isn't a developer coming behind right now. And he will give his unfiltered truth on what that actually means when you're looking at the different listings. He has been called in front of the regulator for talking poorly of other listings. The key here is it's going to the email list only. This never gets posted online because he's allowed to give his unfiltered advice to clients. If you're going to dump on listings, talk to your broker first. Get his opinion. The beginning, I just say like, keep it simple and just say like, here's the 3 best deals of the week. And here's why I think they're good deals. But then as you get more and more comfortable, clear with your broker, you can start going into like, here's some maybe you shouldn't look at. Another thing I've talked about Dean before. He's one of the like brilliant marketers, like I said, and he kills it on email. And he has the 9-word email. I don't know if anyone's heard of this before. It basically works every time. Like how many people here probably have dead leads that to you are like 3 months or older that have never responded to you before? We get clients to send this out regularly. It's a 9-word email, like 9 words, could be 10, 11. It's not a big deal if you're a little over. But roughly speaking, 9 words. Every time we send it out, it gets deals. Like our first time I ever sent it out, we sent it to 309 leads that were 3 months or older that had never responded. 10 of them responded. 3 of them turned into deals. We actually just was chatting to a guy in London, Ontario named Justin Conoco. And he heard me talking about the 9-word email from Dean. And while he was still on the group, I was actually on the Clubhouse app, which you don't have to worry about the app. It's kind of already dead. But we were on that back when it was hot for a little bit there. We were chatting. And while I was still talking about it, he went and sent it out on a Tuesday morning to his entire list of dead leads. He had to call his entire team into the office because they booked 40 calls by the end of the day. Like, it's such a stupid, simple thing, which is why it worked. Now, he sent that out, I think, to 1,500 people, which is why they were able to book so many. But if you have any dead leads, we're going to send a really complicated email. The subject line is going to be homes in Winnipeg. Or if you want to go more specific, as your leads are coming out through there. And then your email should be, hi, are you still looking to buy a home in Winnipeg? ? And then you put your signature, and that's it. Don't put in things like, hey, how's it going? It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. We've tested it. That kills the amount of responses you'll get. Just a very short and sweet, hi, are you still looking to buy a home in Winnipeg? If all your leads hypothetically are sellers, send, hi, are you still looking to sell your home in Winnipeg? People respond to this like crazy because it's so like simple and like intriguing. It's like, why is he email? And like, it starts conversations, which, as we said at the beginning, your goal is to start them. So we often will just send these short little emails like, are you still looking to buy a home in Winnipeg? Yes, some of the responses will be, get out of here, never talk to me again. How'd you get my info? Because they forget. But then you also appeal like, yes, I am. We're actually looking in this part and we're more serious now. So I would like set a reminder to yourself, like once a quarter, take all your dead leads that never responded, send them a 9-word email. You can also use this for your database every now and then. Like, we recommend our clients, like at the beginning of the year, just being like, Happy New Year. Are you planning to move in the next 12 months? Are you planning to make a move this year? When you get old leads, or like you say you get 50 people inquire about one property, when that property sells, send them an email. Hi, 123 Main Street has now sold. Would you like to know what it sold for? You're not putting the price in the email because you want them to respond and start a conversation. So when they respond, just be like, great, it sold for 900,000. Were you looking at this property because of the neighborhood or because of the price? And then they respond. Then you can start the conversation again with them. Everything here is about how many conversations can you start with people, and one question at a time, and keep going. But those all say, still don't forget about your database. I've seen agents who do this where they get so deep into lead gen and conversion, they forget about their database. At the end of the day, your database is what pays the bills. Everything from a lead gen perspective is about adding people to your database. That's the key here. Like, we had a client one, and Andrew, I'll get to your question in a second. We had a client one time who said, hey, Andrew, I didn't tell you, but for the last 3 months, we've been running the test. We had our ISA calling our database, and then we had our ISA half the time calling the leads you generated. And we decided we were going to spend her full time after the 3 months on whichever one generated more deals. And I was like, you don't need to do the test. Like, it's going to be the database every single time. Like, your database is the value that, like, the most valuable piece that you can have. Your lead gen just adds more people to your database. That's it. So people sometimes will get way too into lead gen, forget about their database. This should be the bulk of your business. I believe it's Richard Robbins, the coach, who his line is along the lines of like, for every 100 people in your database, you should be able to get 20 deals a year. Now, that doesn't mean it's from those like 20 of the 100, but it might be someone in that database refers a friend or a neighbor or something like that. But you should be able to pull 20 transactions a year you can trace to your database. And that's like, in that, if you're not at that rate yet, it just means there's more work you can do to your database. But then when you're adding in more people from your lead gen efforts, it grows that database. So don't, and I find just too many people do this where they dive too much into it and they forget about their own database. It looks like people answered in the comments what the 9-word email is, so appreciate that. But yeah, it's super simple. And if you just Google Dean Jackson 9-word email, he'll come up a ton about it. You can read more about it, but Dean's great. He has a podcast called Listing Agent Lifestyle, if you ever want to take a look. These are some books I always recommend people read. These are, like, for me, some of the go-tos that I come back to a lot of the time. I mean, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, what was it, the 1930s that it came out? And to me, it's actually the best social media book that's out there.
That's so good. Yeah.
It just works. All the principles work still today. Be Our Guest and Never Lose a Customer Again, or our customer service and like the client experience. And they're brilliant. Especially the Disney one. Like, Disney is one of the best customer service operations you'll ever see. Like, and the thought they put into it, to me, is wild. Like they make their executives walk through Disney on their knees so that they can see the park from the eyes of the children. And that like they have one anecdote in there about how they were able to increase store sales by like 20%, because as they were walking through on their knees, they realized they couldn't see over all the walls through the windows into some of the stores. So they lower the windows to the floor so that kids could see in and then point to their mom and be like, Mommy, I want to buy that. And that led to an increase in sales. Or like they noticed through their videos that no one wanted to carry garbage more than 28 feet. So there's a garbage can every 27 feet in Disney. And it's like they've thought, and like watching their methodology, like it's worth it. And then the last one, this actually really helps for lead conversion. Phil Jones, exactly what to say. He literally gives you exactly what to say. He has actually also released a book now called Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. So you can also get that version. I would personally get both because like this one has more just like general terms that can really help. The Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents has like very specific scenarios as well. But I would personally still actually get this one first and then get the real estate agent one. But you can get the real estate agent one first too. But like, I'll give you an example. I was hosting a one-day workshop one time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm just going to message people that I know because it was like a $500 one-day workshop. Like I knew it was a very small group of people that were going to come to it. And so I was just private messaging those I thought. And I'm like, half the people I'm going to message how I would normally ask them. Half of them, I'm going to use one of the lines from the book and then put my regular message. I did that. I had 50% more signups from the ones who I used his words for. And it was a very, very clear winner. And literally all it was at the beginning of the message, I just wrote, I don't know if it's for you, but.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll second that. I haven't read the first one, but I did read the real estate one. I actually did a presentation on it maybe a year ago. So some of you have been on the call were around about a year ago. We went through every single one of them, and so we'll do it again because it sounds like we need a refresher. But yeah, I'll second it. It's great just for emails and just those simple magic words. I'll second that. It's great.
Yeah, it's pretty big. And I'm actually in talks with him right now. I don't know if we'll be able to close it because he is not cheap. About him becoming like a coach for all of our clients on the leads they're getting, but that is a very expensive proposition he's asking for. So I'm trying to see if I can
like it.
So if you do have any questions for me or anything like that, like we put a lot of information on our website, justsellhomes.com, so you can learn more about us if you want. If you want any follow-up question, you want to like chat with me, this link actually just goes to my Calendly, and you can just book a call right into my calendar. We do offer I'll review your Facebook ads for free if you want, just to see if you can do it any better. They're 15-minute calls. So if you want them, you can do that. Otherwise, appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes and answer them.
Well, I want to say just again, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And just to show, again, I'll give you a plug for, you practice what you preach. And so, I've heard Andrew speak actually a couple different times over the years through the real estate board or through different events. And, I signed up for his newsletter, which he sends out once a week. So he's actually doing it. Some of the calls to action that you see that he's taught today, he's using it. That's why I'm clicking on. That's how he got here today, right? So he's a man who lives, practices what he preaches. And again, I can't thank you enough for zooming in here with us and sharing. And yeah, if anybody else, I'm just looking through if everybody has any Q&As popping up here. I'll give it another minute or so, but
just answered every question already, so we're good.
Yeah, I know. I think we burned through them pretty good. But yeah, so I'll just quickly, a couple of things I wrote down that I really liked. Just recap my notes as I like to do. Definitely sharing listings or types of listings. Those are kind of the most effective Facebook ads you can put out there. The learn more button instead of a download. Asking the question instead of what your home is worth, what would your home sell for? Again, everything's around conversations. It's like you were reading my playbook on that one to talk about starting conversations. And then, I love the bar analogy. Seems like you have a lot of bar analogies. I feel like we need to go for a drink next time.
Yeah. Well, I do have a show called Over a Pint.
Yes, I know. And I've watched that as well. It's very good. Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. And then of course the double dipping where you kind of hit once they sign up for something or download something, you hit them up again with what else you can offer at the thank you page. Instagram stories initiate private conversations. That's why they're really effective for that. The question, are you looking for yourself or looking for an investment? Again, great question. What brought you in today is the grocery store concept to apply to your emails and conversations with with inquiries. We got Dean Jackson with the 9-word email and the daily. I love the daily deal. I wish that's pretty cool too. I wish I thought of that. Come on every day, just talk about best deals in the neighborhood. So yeah.
Also to people who are listening, because there's a lot of things there. Don't feel you have to do them all at once. I always recommend like pick the one that today you think would have the biggest impact, and then do that till it's done, then go to the next thing. And this, like, it could take you a year to put all this into place. And don't feel like it has to be like until it's all there, you got to do it at once. Personally, I would start with the weekly emails and then the listing leads.
Yeah, perfect. Good stuff. Awesome. Well, again, I will thank you. We're just looking through this things here. Oh, I guess there's one.
When placing contact info over an image such as an Instagram post, what do you feel is the best amount? And the best amount is none. Actually, I would not put that on at all, because they can go to your profile for that already, especially on like Instagram. And the more text, generally, the less reach a post can get. The best way to advertise, especially like a sold, is actually a photo of the sellers holding the sold rider being very happy. Or actually, there's a couple of great. So Jen Schulte in Collingwood, and there's another guy named Tim Collins in the NIMO. They do a phenomenal job with their solds, where they actually will both go with a bottle of champagne. Jen will actually like do a video of them popping the champagne. She'll have glasses, they drink it. Tim goes the other way of the F1 style. He has them all shake up and spray and get excited, and he puts that on video. But like that personality comes through so much. And the reason that that or a photo of them in front of the sold do better is because anything that's not polished and like feels like an ad is going to do better on social. Because as someone scrolling through, if they see like someone holding a sold rider, they're going to be like, oh, did someone I know sell their home? And they're going to stop and look. Whereas if it's like your headshot and your contact info, right away, people are like, oh, it's an ad, and they keep going. You want to have that more organic, raw feel in there, and then you put your information in the caption part of it. But the actual image itself, try to keep it clean. And with a sold, and actually at 1:00 today, I'm doing a webinar on how to advertise your listings, 1 p.m. Eastern. And I always talk about like for solds, do like case studies. So instead of saying, hey, I sold this for 20,000 over asking, which they already see through. They're like, well, you should have priced it properly anyways. Consumers hate that marketing. You either say, I sold it for more than the sellers thought they could get, or do it as a case study. So be like, John and Sarah came to me because they just had another baby. They needed a bigger home. So they invited me over. I took a look and I realized we had to stage their home. So we decluttered, we brought in some furniture, we changed some rooms to showcase the highest, best use of the home. And then I got videos done, floor plans done, yada, 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 yada. Here's everything we did. We got it listed. We had 27 showings in 3 days, and we ended up selling it for 50,000 above what the client even thought they'd be able to get. And now they're off onto their new home with their new family, and we're really excited for them. That type of just sold will do way better than like fancy graphics being like sold in 3 days for 100% of asking. So things like that's how we recommend doing it. And then add your personality into it. The only other thing I'll say about social, because it just reminded me of it, and I get this objection, is like people who are really private and don't want to share themselves online. You can show up online a ton without ever sharing a lot about you. Like as like a short, like look at my video background right now. Like you can actually learn a lot about me without me having to show you my kids or my wife or anything like that right now, right? Like you can see like Dumb and Dumber. Like I can already tell you, phone knows what that is. They already know what type of movies I like because I got a movie reference there. I got a movie reference there. I got a movie reference there. A movie reference there. Movie references here. I got Toronto Raptors there. Like I got stuff there. If you pay attention, like you can see a lot of stuff about me. And you like, I get people all the time who will watch like my show and say like, oh, I feel like I know you and you're the same person I met. Like that's an intentional piece of our marketing, is like, I want to get that across without always sharing. Like I don't share a lot about my wife online because she's a parole officer and I don't want her clients coming and finding me through, or finding her through that. It's like I post my kids a lot, but I almost never post my wife. And that's very intentional. You don't have to share a lot about yourself online and still have a very effective, personable online presence. And yes, I do like the movie with the Joker in it.
Absolutely. Awesome. So you're telling me there's a chance. There you go.
Yes, he gets it.
Absolutely. I noticed that the first thing. Awesome. All right. Well, again, thank you, Andrew. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I really do appreciate you zooming in, and wish you all the best. And we'll talk again soon. And again, everybody, if you check out those links that he shared out, check out his Just Sell Homes website and
bookandrew.ca if you want to book a call with me. And there's a few different options for types of calls if you want to pick one.
Yeah, perfect. Well, again, Andrew, thank you again so much. Appreciate it. All the best. Take care.
All right, have a good day.